It's always nice to take as much gear as possible on a shoot. However, sometimes you are limited by what you can take.
This is the essential gear that I use for when I'm traveling. Today I am looking at the minimal kit that I would use for a professional shoot when I am traveling abroad and perhaps I'm only working on my own.
I'm of course relating this to how I shoot a hotel or resort. However, I think a lot of the equipment on this list could also be applied to any other shoots where you need a very light setup. Productions that is just you on your own. Maybe you're just going into the city, you're doing a corporate job. Well, perhaps a lot of this kit could tick those boxes as well.
So what do I need my kit to be able to do? Well, I need to be able to travel it with it easily on my own. All the kit I need to be able to function on my own. I need long battery life. I don't want things breaking down halfway through the shoot. I need the ability to get lots of wides, lots of detail shots, as well as covering plenty of drone as well. So let's get started with the bags that I'm putting all of this in. First off, I got my trusty Thinktank Advantage XT bag. This is an awesome carry-on case. It fits on all the airlines, it's just easy to use, it's fairly lightweight compared to the International, but still offers great protection, and they are just so solid as bags. I highly recommend the Thinktanks if you're looking for a bag for your kit, especially if you do a lot of traveling. In terms of my suitcase, I've picked up this Samsonite. It is absolutely awesome. It's a bit expensive, but it's just incredible. It's got very long warranty on it. It's got solid sides. I like the fact that it's got clamps rather than zips. So it's a bit like a Pelly case in that sense. It is hard. It's obviously only plastic, so it's not ultra hard, but it's certainly good enough, and I trust it more than enough to stick my tripod in there along with a light stand and some other bits and pieces so that I don't have to carry another additional bag with me when I am traveling. I like how the compartments split up, so I put my clothes into one side and then I put my camera kit into the other. Right, let's talk about the core of this kit, and of course that is the camera and the SONY FX3. This for me is just the ultimate travel resort and architectural camera. It can really do a lot. It is almost perfect. There are a few things that niggle and I wish could be better, and hopefully we'll see that in a Mark II. But this thing can cover it all. Its compact size obviously makes it very easy to travel. It means I can fit plenty of other kit in my bag as well. The frame rate options are awesome. So doing handheld B-roll at 100 frames is no problem whatsoever. The high ISO is so critical for what I do as well. What it means is when I'm shooting interior, I can set it to the 12,000 ISO. And you might think, why would you want to do that in daylight? Well, it means that I can then shoot at a high frame rate and have a deep depth of field. Deep depth of field for doing wide interiors is really nice to have. On the FX3, I've got the tilter cage, and any cage will do as long as it has a built-in Arca Swiss mount. That for me is really important because it just means it's a lot quicker to take on and off of a gimbal or onto a tripod. Just having this built in, it's solid, it's not going to twist, and it's just so nice to have. I bring 3 batteries along for the FX3. Honestly, that's all I need. It's more than enough. It gets me through the day without a problem because of how good the battery life is on the Sony FX3, especially when you're turning it on and off between scenes. I also love the fact that you can charge these batteries either in camera on the USB-C port, so great in terms of backup options, but also I've got a separate extra USB charger as well that I use, which is absolutely brilliant. That thing can also charge my MPF batteries at the same time. So I can charge 2 of these batteries and 2 of those at the same time. And I just carry that around with me as we're shooting. So as we're shooting the room, I will just set the charger up in the corner so I can just hot swap the batteries throughout the day. And I don't ever really worry about charging at night.
When you're tired after a long shoot day, it's just really nice not to worry about putting batteries on charge.
Now, for most people and most shoots, I would highly recommend taking a second camera. I'm not doing so on this shoot. However, if I was, it would be the Sony a7 IV. The reason why I'm not is, well, one, I'm a bit limited on space, but B, I'm working with a photographer, so he has a backup camera that I could potentially use if the worst were to happen. For memory cards, I'm using the Pergear CF Express Type A as my main memory card. 256 gig per day is more than enough generally, but I also do have a backup Angelbird SD card in there as well, just in case. Now let's talk about lenses, and I'm keeping this very limited on this essential kit. All I'm taking is a Sigma 16 to 28mm for my wide angle, doing all my gimbal work. This is a very compact lens. It's great on a gimbal because it has an internal zoom, so it doesn't shift the weight too much. My other lens is the Tamron 35 to 150. That's just because it is awesome for doing B-roll. It covers you for such a great range, and having f2 at the wide and 2.8 at the long end is more than enough to give you a shallow enough depth of field to separate your subject. Now, my drone of choice is still the Mavic 2 Pro. This really is proof that you don't need to be upgrading your kit all the time. I've had this drone for years now. It's been on so many shoots, it's been to so many different countries, and it just keeps on working. It does the job absolutely fine. I'm even still using the same original blades on it. That's how great this drone has been and how it's just such a workhorse to be used. I have 2 batteries with it. One of them did die recently. I had to buy an enterprise one because they don't make the normal batteries anymore. For me, 2 is enough most of the time. I probably should really have 3, but for shoots where I do need to take just the essentials, 2 is more than enough. A similar piece of kit that I just haven't changed in years is the gimbal. The RS2 is still a great gimbal. It does everything I need. I would like the Bluetooth control that you get on the RS3 and RS4, but other than that, this does the job absolutely fine for doing interiors. It's so nice using a lighter camera like the FX3 with a 16 to 28 lens because it just makes it such a light and easy setup to use with the RS2 gimbal. I do have a SMALLRIG plate on top instead of the original DJI plate. The reason I've got that one on there is because it means I can drop the FX3 down onto the Arca Swiss rather than have to slide it in from the side. One flaw about having a cage on your camera with Arca Swiss where it's got the grip handle on the right hand side, it means it's impossible to slide it in onto the gimbal. For lighting, I'm taking quite a light setup here. I do also have the Zhiyun B300, which I recently reviewed, but the B200 is so compact, I can actually fit it into this bag into the top section, which is amazing that it fits in here. And I've also got the iFootage 130 BNA as well. And both these lights are super compact. You can see they take up hardly any space in the bag. I love the fact that the Zhiyun doesn't need any sort of brick to power it. You just plug it straight in with the cable. I carry the cable in the suitcase when I'm traveling. Things like having bicolor is super important. I find 200 watts of power is just about enough for helping lift a corner of a room just by bouncing off a wall or a ceiling. But also if I want to just sort of highlight something in the background, then I might use the light directly on that as well. The reason I take the iFootage with me is mainly because it can be powered off USB-C and it still provides a great amount of power, and of course once again is bicolor as well. For the tripod I use the iFootage TC5. This is a fairly affordable tripod that is carbon fiber, it's super lightweight. It's not the tallest tripod in the world, that's probably my one criticism with it, but I do love this half ball head it has on top, so it means that even when you're using with a flat head tripod head, you can still adjust it like you would if it was a ball head. And also I like having the center column as well, because actually when you're doing interior shoots and when you're doing architectural shoots, I find that often you want to make a lot of small adjustments. Traditional tripods are quite big and bulky and are quite hard to fit in the tight spaces. Now, if I was using a bigger and heavier camera, this wouldn't be an appropriate tripod, but with the FX3, this is absolutely fine. For the head, I'm using the small tripod head. This is amazing. I've done a full review of it. I absolutely love this head. I think it's probably the best video head you can get, certainly for this price bracket, but even just generally for this sort of size of tripod. Obviously there are better tripod heads out there, but they are generally bigger and heavier and designed for much larger systems.
For audio, the Rode Wireless Pros have become my #1 choice. I'm using one right now and I've been traveling with it for the last few shoots. These are just awesome. They've got 32-bit float recording, the sound quality is great, they come with everything you need, and most importantly for me, they are super compact, which is exactly what I need when I am traveling. They're kind of idiot proof, and that's why it's so great to have something like this in the kit.
In terms of the other kit that I take with me, well, I've got my MacBook Pro M1. This is just an absolute critical piece of the equipment nowadays. I do all my B-roll, all my backups, everything is going on here all the time. And with the super long battery life, it is incredibly useful. I just charge it once a day and it's more than enough to get me through the entire day of shooting. I do take a SHINOBI monitor as well. I've had this one for years. It's bright enough. I wish it could be a bit brighter, but it certainly does the job. The battery life is really great on it. I just use NPF batteries on there. Lasts for ages. And I wish it did have HDMI out as well. But as I mentioned, it just ticks the box just as good enough for what I need. For backing up the footage, I use the Samsung T7 4TB SSDs. These are brilliant. They're nice and rugged. They're easy to use. And they just provide a great quick backup option when you're shooting. So I've got the main obviously drive, and then I'll have a backup drive as well. And I'll use the Hedge software to back all of that up as I go throughout the day. I don't wait to the end of the day. I keep doing it throughout the day just to make sure that there's always a backup on there just in case, but also so I can actually go through the B-roll while I'm shooting as well. A really cool accessory I got for the SSDs is this little pouch that is stuck on the back of my MacBook Pro. This is just brilliant if you are having to do backups in the field. Rather than having your SSDs hanging over the edge and worrying about if they might unplug accidentally or trying to balance them all the time in awkward situations, you just stick your SSD in the back of here and then you can just plug it in and you know it's safe and secure. It's just a great way of storing your SSD with your MacBook Pro. I do have a ball head for my tripod that I'm taking with me on this shoot. That's just so that I can get vertical content a bit easier. I never need a smooth panning action when I'm doing vertical content. It all is still, so a ball head is more than good enough. And it just is a bit quicker when you need to rush around and get plenty of vertical shots.
A quick mention of light stands. I'm actually borrowing them from the photographer that I'm working with, so I'm not taking anything too serious, but I have chucked in my case a K&F light stand, which I've been very impressed with in terms of how it works. You can get it really low, it's very compact in size, but still surprisingly solid and stable when you want to put a larger light on it. I also have a very small, cheap light stand. I think that came with an aperture light in the past. These are like those dado stands if you've ever used them. Once again, very small light and actually great for fitting in tight spaces.
I'm using the Freewell variable ND filters. These are magnetic on the front, so it's very quick and easy to use, and it does the job just absolutely fine. This is the 82mm, which matches the TAMRON, and I'll just use step-up rings when I'm using the Sigma lens. Finally, for the iFootage light, as well as backup power for the camera and even the MacBook Pro, I carry along this Swit V-Lock battery. This has 65 watt output. It means that I can power pretty much any device from it. I can charge my other batteries from it, and of course I can power the light from it as well. A great option to have, and just provide some great power options if needed.
So there you go, that is my recommendations for the kit that I use when I'm traveling on my own on a shoot professionally. If you obviously have a bigger crew, then you can take more stuff with you. But I think this is a great example of actually how much great stuff you can fit into just a couple of bags and ensure that you have full coverage for everything you need to do. I'd love to hear any kit recommendations from yourselves. Please leave comments down below and how you go about traveling with your camera equipment as well. If you're looking to pick up any of this gear, then please use the affiliate links down below, as it massively helps out the channel. And if you're from the UK, then make sure you use the Pro AV ones as well, because they are just such an awesome company to work with, and they can provide you some great advice on all the camera gear that you're looking to purchase from them. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff like this, then make sure you also like and subscribe.